Oh, cousin.
Hey. When you hear Section 8, you think slumlord, intellectual property destruction,
a rental property just left in ruins.
All these $100 add up real quick to thousands.
gangs, and prostitution.
I'll blow you for 20 bucks.
But what you probably don't think of when you hear Section 8 is 100-foot yachts or multi-million-dollar annual paychecks.
You go Spider, Dawn.
For example, tomorrow is the first of the month. $850,000 will be deposited into my property management account from the federal government.
What if I told you there was a hidden world behind the seemingly harsh day-to-day of Section 8 where even a 21-year-old with 70 properties is cash flowing?
They net somewhere around $40,000 a month.
And to learn more about this mysterious business model, I decided to meet up with this 21-year-old by flying to New Orleans, Louisiana, America's 6th most dangerous city.
More than a dozen killings to start the year, dubbed the murder capital of the country.
To learn more about Section 8 real estate. Ladies and gentlemen, we just made it to New Orleans, Louisiana. We got an absolutely fabulous view behind me, and today is an exciting day because, as I mentioned, I'm going to be getting into real estate. Mark just bought his first house.
Yep.
You hyped to learn from this guy, bro?
Yep.
I'm curious to see what this guy has to say about Section 8, how he scaled so fast, because it's kind of crazy for me to understand how he's 21 years old and owns that many properties. So we're about to Uber over right now. For William? Okay, cool. Thank you. And after a bit of driving, we just made it to Kareem's office. Yo, we're here. We don't know which one's yours, though.
I'm good, John.
It's good, bro. How are you doing?
Doing good.
It's good to see you. I like your walk. Appreciate it.
Looks sick.
Hell yeah.
Office is a little dirty. It's cool, bro. I mean, we've been in this office for a minute.
Hell yeah. Dude, sick. It's your guys' office. Drinking coffee to start the day? We weren't at Kareem's office very long as we soon went driving to look at some of his Section 8 properties. So he has 77 properties in total, but if you can remember, how many do you have in Louisiana?
Over 25 at least.
So we're pulling up to the area right now where one of the Section 8 properties are located. You said you got into this one with $5,000 down, correct?
Yeah, so it was a complete seller finance deal. He was only asking for $5K down. We did a little bit of work on it on the inside, and that's it right over there.
Dang, so this is the house from the outside. It looks like a cute small house.
I mean, that's how they all look. A lot of people think that the Section 8 rentals are just going to be ultimately something that's garbage, trash, in a bad neighborhood, but they don't necessarily have to be like that. For us, we want to provide good Section 8 rentals that are quality on the inside, because ultimately, if you give people trash, they're going to treat it like trash.
How much does it rent for?
$16.85.
And like, how much does Section 8 cover of that, and how much does the tenant actually
the
pay?
tenant actually, I think their portion's like $170, but I know Section 8 pays me about $1,500 every single month.
And with the buy cost of $50,000 and only about 13 grand put into renovations, this deal has massive cash flow. Honestly, for 50 grand, this is a pretty nice house.
I got a really good deal because right now I got an appraisal on it. It was around like 220 to 215.
Wait, how in the world would you get it that cheap?
It was an off-market deal.
Kareem uses wholesaling methods such as putting up signs saying I buy houses or passing out flyers door to door saying something similar. He even has friends who cold call property owners in distressed situations in hopes of getting a hold of motivated sellers before their home hits the market for a better deal. So although those numbers seem absolutely insane, I can assure you that's because he didn't buy the house from a Zillow listing with a bunch of competition.
Right now I cash flow maybe $800, $900, somewhere in that range on this property because the mortgage is so low, but the insurance is high. That's the only thing, because obviously Louisiana and Hurricane Ida.
Kareem then talked to the tenants and gave us a look inside the property. So you redid the whole kitchen inside?
We added like cabinets right over here, refloored it over here.
It looks really nice. When I noticed the power was off because they didn't pay the utility bill. We then spent the rest of the day going to a few more of his properties. So you own this property right here and that one with the truck in front of it. Okay.
I didn't pay that much, but I did a lot of value adds on them. That one actually caught on fire 2 times.
You own that one too?
Mm-hmm.
Dang, look at that.
This one is a new construction right here. We got an offer on it. Somebody came to my doorstep. He was like, I'll offer you guys like $670 for it.
And how much are you into it?
3.2, but each unit is rented out for $16.85 right now.
Looking at this place from the outside, it's a new construction, so it's
super nice.
And before we continue with showing things like the first Section 8 property he ever bought at 17, what it looks like when a Section 8 tenant moves out, how to buy a home for $0, and some interesting tenants he's had, let's roll the interview footage because I want to hear how he even got into Section 8. How did you even get into Section 8, and like what did you do to make the money to get into it?
I actually used to work for the Section 8 Housing Authority like 4.5 years ago when I first got into this. So that's kind of where I learned, all the ins and outs, all the loopholes, because a lot of people will jump into this with like no familiarity and they end up getting burnt. So for me, I already had the prior knowledge to just take that and begin to scale it.
And why did you want to work there? Was it your goal to learn about Section 8 by working there, or why did you even like get this job in the first place?
To be honest, I had an accountant that I was working with that did Section 8. He kind of referred me to them because he had a bunch himself. So that's kind of where I got a grasp of it. And he had a good connection with the housing authority lady, and he was like, all right, I'll just go over there pretty much every day after school.
Around this time, Kareem started making money pressure washing, and he even got into day trading while still in high school. Between saving up a lot of money from that and learning things about Section 8, like for example, in my city of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, there are currently 5,800 Section 8 households with over 2,000 landlords. And to qualify as a tenant, you need to earn less than $26,850 per year, or a little more if you have a family. And to qualify as a landlord, well, you just need a house. From what I've been told, pretty much any home can qualify for Section 8, and you'll get more or less for rent depending on the area and the size of the house, with about 30% of the tenant's income being paid out to you and the rest being subsidized by the Section 8 program. Now, obviously, you can learn a lot about Section 8 without having to work there like Kareem, but he learned so many valuable ins and outs by doing so, and to do that on the side while making a bunch of money from side hustles is impressive. Through your side hustles that you were doing to build up money, how much did you end up building up before you bought your first property, and what age did you buy that first property at?
I bought my first property at 17, and technically, like I was telling you prior, you can't even sign a legal contract at 17, so it was just via an LLC that I had to sign under, but I had maybe a good $70,000-$80,000 saved up. Yeah, so the first house was $50K. I put in about 20 into reno, so it was actually the one that we checked out, the pink property. So this is the first one that I paid $50 for. We changed the roof, we did a lot of renovations and inside, which was about $20,000 worth, and it appraised for, I think it was like 160 or 170.
How did this only cost 50 grand? Like, how did you get it for that cheap?
To be honest, it was like in a distressed situation. We had to do a good amount of renovations on it. That's what happens with a lot of tired landlords. People mess up their properties due to mismanagement. They're like, all right, I want to let it roll. I think this house was via the bandit signs. We put a bunch of bandit signs up, like we buy houses, and a lot of people think they don't work, but I got a bunch of deals literally just via those bandit signs.
Using these strategies, Kareem was quickly able to scale his real estate portfolio, and by the time he was 18, he was able to refinance that first property and pull a lot of the equity out, using over $100,000 to invest in more properties. But to get into Section 8, you don't always need a lot of money, or honestly credit for that matter, since the first property we looked at was a complete seller finance deal and it only required $5,000 down. This means that the bank isn't involved whatsoever, and it simply takes place between contracts with Kareem and the seller. In certain situations, Kareem even told me about a way to get into homes with $0 with a program called HUD housing. This house behind me only needs a $100 down payment. Why is that, Kareem? It's kind of interesting.
It's a HUD house, so technically it's only sold to individuals who aren't gonna actually live in the house for a minimum of 1 year. So whether or not they're teachers, they're health professionals, firefighters, doctors, something along those lines, they could actually be the only people that are buying the house. After 30 days, if they do not buy the house, then it goes on to investors who can make offers. It's about $110K, which is a heavy discount. Obviously, you'll walk into $70,000 worth of equity.
So for the people who have careers like this, they could move into this house, live in it for a year, and then Section 8 it or rent it out and literally make $80,000. If you're looking at getting into Section 8, look out for something similar to HUDhomestore.com, like HUD houses. Very good opportunity for you guys to get into this for cheap. But now that we've talked to Kareem about how he got into Section 8, how you can get into it even with little money, let's talk about some of the downsides of real estate and especially Section 8. Because anytime you can make millions of dollars with something, risk is involved. Have you ever had a bad tenant? Like, what's your experience been?
So I've had a tenant before that burned down a unit within a fourplex. I believe they were smoking inside of the property, but ultimately, I mean, what happens? You know, they burn down your property. You're required by your mortgagee and your lender to actually have insurance.
And as for further issues such as tenants destroying your property or gang violence, Kareem has an intense screening process.
See how they treat their current property. That's gonna give us a good indication of to how they're gonna treat our current property. If they're treating their current property like garbage, if we have our property manager go into there and it's like, hey, you have cigarettes everywhere, you have dogs everywhere, all the doors are broken.
Now, going as far as visiting someone's current residence to see how they take care of it may sound like going super far, but the list for a Section 8 voucher is extremely long, and a lot of people are desperate to get those Biden bucks.
And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down.
So I met with the housing authority director in Louisiana, and the list is about 12 years in Louisiana, and every single city it's pretty much the same. So that's why a lot of these tenants will take pride in their voucher. When they get it, they don't necessarily want to do something wrong, mess it up, and get kicked off the program.
With lists this long, you have a lot of potential tenants to pick from, and people people are often thankful once they get a Section 8 rental and don't want to risk losing it by destroying the property. Now, obviously, a certain percentage of tenants will be idiots, but Kareem further reduces his risk by not buying properties in high crime areas. And although New Orleans is one of the most dangerous cities in America, Kareem often buys 25 to 30 minutes outside of city limits to buy properties in suburbs with less crime. And even if a tenant does cause some property damage, the average Section 8 tenant stays 7 years with the government writing checks the entire time.
I think about it like this: if they destroy a couple doors after 7 years of living my property, I'm not too worried about that, because I just cash flowed, you know, $600 a month times 7 years, which is, you know, it's like close to 50 grand. So if I have to spend $1,000 or $2,000 or even $5,000 on renovations, that cost is kind of irrelevant to me.
So next up, guys, we're pulling up to a very exciting property. So we've looked at a lot of properties that are currently being rented out, but we're about to go to one where a tenant just moved out. Uh-oh. Is this your first time seeing this place after?
It's been a while. I haven't came in here yet.
Damn.
So a lot of people have that stigma surrounded by Section 8 where, you know, hey, it's gonna be a mess, they're gonna leave it completely garbage. But as we can see, I mean, she left it relatively close to how we gave it to her, and she's been in here for at least 3 years now.
Damn. I mean, it's spotless, dude. There's really not much work you have to do whatsoever.
I mean, all we really have to do, to be honest with you, is we just have to put the outlet plates back on, maybe a couple of repainting on some of these doors because they got scuffed up.
So there you have it, guys. A Section 8 property after 3 years. There's no fridge, there's no dishwasher either, right?
Yeah, so sometimes we will provide a fridge. It's very situational though.
By keeping the property simple without a dishwasher, a washer, a dryer, or sometimes even a fridge, since Section 8 doesn't require any of these, there are less things in a property that can possibly break. So guys, I learned a lot on this trip to New Orleans, and I hope you all did too. It's pretty crazy to see someone at 21 years old scale to over 70 Section 8 properties, as he most recently closed on a 20-house portfolio with $0 down. Now in total profiting about $40,000 each month. And although I won't be buying a Section 8 property as my next real estate investment, it's definitely something I'm considering for the future. So guys, be sure to drop a like for that, and I'll see you guys next week with another video. Peace out.